Yeah, item 5.8 is a professional services agreement with the Emeryville Chamber of Commerce to provide services for $25,000, and this is a contract that we've had in place for a few years now. And after reading through the staff report, I had a few comments, things that we might want to consider adding, but also just a concern about needing the report from last year's contract before moving forward on this year's contract. If I recall, last year we talked about having several measurable deliverables, and we've had some reports of all of the activities, but I feel like I didn't have enough information on this. So I would like to either table this until we have more information in order to make a better decision for me, or a couple of things I would like to add perhaps to the contract is to have specific outreach to small businesses in town. I know that some small businesses are members of the chamber, but I didn't see anything specific in supporting small businesses. And finally, just asking our staff to manage the contract in a way that we feel like we're getting information back and accountability.
Okay.
Mayor Asher.
Go ahead, Nora.
I think that's a good thing to hold it over, but what specific information are you looking for? We're asking staff to bring back information. Specifically, What are you looking for?
Well, what I saw, and excuse me while I jump to that item in our packet here. Electronics can be slower than paper sometimes. In the contract itself, so last year's contract talks about the, I think it's 4 tasks that were the accomplishments. And in the new contract for this year, it includes a list of deliverables, such as for number 1, which is state level economic development initiatives. It talks about the number of seminars held, or the number of businesses attending, the number of businesses participating. So specific, again, in task 2, I guess the number of meetings held, and 3. And I feel like that's what we discussed last year, and I just haven't seen a report from last year with those kinds of numbers.
Well, I think it's absolutely acceptable to ask for specific information, but could we also include what are your additional requests to add to the contract?
Right.
So
my additional request was
brings it back.
just specific outreach to small businesses in town, or what efforts have been made, I guess, to include small businesses. And if that's something I think the chamber is already doing, but just to call it out specifically, I thought would be good.
I'd be fine with that.
Yeah, that's fine to hold it over. And then I had one question for Bob, since he is here. It says that through May 2013-14, we've been billed $13,000 for the chamber services, and the contract for last time was $25,000. Is that correct? So are there still outstanding? I hate to make you get up, Bob, but are there still outstanding items that we're going to be billed for?
Yeah. Thank you, Mayor Asher and council members. Specifically, Mayor Asher, to your comment, and by the way, thank you all for your kind notes and comments. My knee's getting better. My surgery went fine. And thank you. It's nice to be here tonight. Whereas George Burns once said, in my condition, it's nice to be anywhere tonight. Specifically on the amount of the contract, 2 things, Mayor, to answer your question directly. Yes, there still is 1 month to be outstanding, but the contract calls for up to $25,000. Okay. And I'm glad, well, one last point, and I'm going to answer, because it bears directly on your question. I want to make sure people understand it's not a check that's handed $25,000 to the chamber. That's not the case at all. It's billed monthly at $100 an hour for up to $25,000. It may come in more or less than that. One of the original tasks in the contract was promotion of our enterprise zone. Well, you all know what happened to that. So that took like 25% of our work away. Mm-hmm. We were doing a very good job in that, to be frank with you. We were doing a lot of work on that. it evaporated. So that took away, and we just can't make up more stuff. I mean, I do try to work with the staff to try to do other things, but the contract was the contract. So I think that there's 1 month outstanding.
Okay.
I did not get the June billing in because I left for my surgery before that, and a big chunk of the work went away because of the enterprise zone.
Okay.
And
yeah.
I'll answer any other questions you have. And don't worry about getting me to, I don't mind getting up. Since
I
I'm
asked
here, did
since
you
you're
have
here.
one?
Thank you, Bob.
Yes.
Is it possible that I believe our next meeting that we could consider this actually is in early September 2nd, but that we could have some kind of tangible report on last year's activities at that
Yes,
time?
and that's a very fair question. I do submit a monthly timesheet every month. However, it's not well organized and it's kind of tough to get through. And to be fair, Michelle DeGuzman has asked me to do a better job of reorganizing the information to present it to you in a better format.
Right.
That's a perfectly legitimate question. I'll work with Michelle to do that. The answer is sure. And yes, and that's perfectly legitimate. And one last point, outreach to small business, yes, of course, I suspect we do more of that than people are aware.
Exactly.
And again, maybe that gets to your point about not. We did have, just as a very good example, on April 30th, right here in this council chambers, we had a wonderful procurement fair that we brokered with the Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory and UC Berkeley. We must have had 60 businesses here, now not just from Emeryville. To be fair, the event had to be open to the public because the lab and UC being public institutions, you could not close it. And of all the businesses that attended, 99% or all of them were small to medium businesses, not just one example. But I'm delighted to work with Michelle and Sabrina on any kind of continued outreach to small business and present that to you in a better format. That's absolutely okay. And I have no problem with that at all. So thank you for asking.
Great. Okay, sounds like then September is a good time to revisit.
good.
Okay, great.
Public comment on this subject?
Yeah.
I definitely have a few comments here. My first problem with this contract is that, well, when the city's providing this money to the chamber, what does that do for business people? If you have a problem with the city, they have a conflict of interest. They get a free office and they get this contract. I mean, I think that's a real problem. You know, if we're going to do outreach, well, let me back up. As the founder of the chamber, this chamber was founded to bring the residents and the business people together. That's why it was founded. So if we're going to provide money for outreach, why don't we outreach the whole community? Why are we only looking to outreach to business people when we need to do a better job outreaching to the whole community? I wouldn't have any problem with this if the chamber was what it was meant to be, and then you're providing money that benefits everyone in the city. But in this circumstance, I think there's a couple of problems here. And I think we need to relook at this. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm a small business owner in Emeryville. Been here had my business here for over 30 years. And I would like to, I'm also a member of the Chamber of Commerce. And I'd like to sort of take issue with what Mr. Cantor said regarding his outreach to small business. I'm just not feeling it. I mean, I think the Chamber primarily is here to serve as a business lobbying group for large business. Sort of at the expense of small business, frankly, is what I believe. I think we need to have a chamber. I think it's really important to have a business lobbying group for Emeryville, or entity. But I have a problem with the Emeryville Chamber of Commerce Incorporated, which is a private company. I just don't think they're delivering the goods. So we're giving them $25,000, and as Mr. Bukowski said, also a free office. That's coming from me and other taxpayers. And I just wanted to piggyback onto an item that Mr. Bukowski said earlier, where we're giving them $25,000 plus the office, and their services to the businesses are sort of lacking in my estimation. But it's a very narrowed servicee. People are serviced to a very small group, versus, for instance, what Mr. Bukowski is doing with regard to these videotapes that he's copying from the city and then posting on YouTube. And he's doing editing, and so citizens can go to the site and you can read a little snippet of what you want to watch, and he's categorized it out, and that's a real service to the people. So Mr. Bukowski is performing this business or this service at no charge to the taxpayers, and now I guess he wants to have a waiver for the $10 fee, and since we're giving $25,000 a year plus free rent to the Chamber of Commerce with a very narrowed scope of Emeryville businesses, I think that we should we should consider that when we talk about a waiver for Mr. Bukowski's services to the everybody in Emeryville for the video services he's providing, so long as he continues to provide it in a way that's not overtly political. And so far, that's, in my estimation, has been that has not been the case. So I think we should this should be an agenda item, and I think that we should vote to extend Mr. Bukowski at the minimum a waiver of the $10 per copying fee, since we're paying this Chamber of Commerce $25,000. I mean, it just seems fair to me. Thank you very much.
Okay. Any other public comments on that item? All right, we're going to move on to public hearings.